And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Wednesday marks the 10th anniversary of the first imprisonment of foreign detainees at the U.S. military prison at Guantánamo Bay. To mark the date, activists have called for a national day of action centered around a major protest in Washington, D.C. Wednesday. Organizers say they'll form a human chain stretching from the White House to the Capitol, with participants wearing orange jumpsuits to represent the prisoners at Guantánamo and at the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, still held without charge or trial. Guantánamo still holds an estimated 171 prisoners, including 46 deemed to be indefinite, meaning they can still be imprisoned despite acknowledgement there's no evidence to convict them in court. Today, we'll take a look at the 10th anniversary of Guantánamo with a number of guests. First, we go to Washington, where we're joined by Ramzi Kamsam, counsel to a number of Guantánamo prisoners who have begun a hunger strike around the prison's 10th anniversary. Kamsi, welcome to Democracy Now! Talk about this hunger strike. Has it begun already at Guantánamo?
Well, thank you, Amy. And it goes actually beyond a hunger strike. Based on what my clients have told me, as of today and until Thursday, for a 3-day period to mark the 10th anniversary, they'll be staging a series of peaceful protests that will involve sit-ins with signs and banners in the part of the prison that has communal areas, as well as hunger strikes and refusals of food, all in a peaceful protest of the 10-year anniversary of this unjust prison, and also in solidarity with the protests that will be held by Americans here in D.C. on Wednesday.
I want to read a statement you sent us from your client, Shakar Amar, in Camp 5. He says, quote, he's very grateful for this expression of solidarity by Americans with the prisoners at Guantánamo and their families. He hopes that together with the protesters in Washington, the prisoners at Guantánamo can send out a powerful message through their peaceful protest on this occasion, reminding the world that 10 years into its existence, the Guantánamo prison remains unacceptable. What is the knowledge that prisoners at Guantánamo have of what's happening outside, and why haven't the prisoners you represent been released? Talk about the conditions right now at Guantánamo and what are their prospects, the prisoners.
Well, in terms of the knowledge that they have of the outside, you know, they get information from the news. They have access to some media outlets, television and radio. They also get information from guards, from attorneys, from other prisoners. So they're fairly well aware of the actions being organized, and they pay particularly close attention to any gestures of protest in the United States. They view those as particularly important, and they're always very moved by the fact that Americans stand in solidarity with what they're going through and what their families are experiencing. In terms of my own clients, you know, unfortunately, they're really pawns and victims of a partisan American politics at this stage. There's no reason for them to be there. As you well know, of the 171 prisoners remaining in Guantánamo, around 89, according to public figures, have already been approved for release. And many of them have been approved for release for years, since the Bush administration, and they languish at Guantánamo. And so that's really the issue. It's just politics, and the politics of fear, more specifically, that's preventing my clients from returning home to their families.
The fact that President Obama, in his first days in office, promised to close Guantánamo, but it remains open, what effect has that had on the prisoners you represent, Ramzi?
You know, I mean, I had a client who, in the middle of a military commission hearing, shortly before Obama's inauguration, pulled out a copy of an ACLU ad in a newspaper that reproduced Obama's pledge to close Guantánamo and shut down the military commission. I think he got that from one of the guards. I don't know exactly where he got it from. It was a complete surprise to me, and it was a complete surprise to the military judge and to everyone else in that courtroom. But to me, it's indicative of the extent to which even the prisoners at Guantánamo, you know, not unlike the American public, believed that President Obama would make good on the promises delivered by candidate Obama. Now, unfortunately, President Obama has placed politics above sound policy. He hasn't made good on that promise, and he hasn't only adopted many questionable Bush-era national security policies, he's expanded them and normalized them and made them a permanent part of the way that the United States will participate in the world. And so, unfortunately, the impact on my clients has been disheartening to some extent, but I'm always inspired by their ability to not just retain and preserve their humanity and dignity in horrible, unspeakable conditions, but to the extent to which hope survives among my clients and the other prisoners at Guantánamo. And so I think that they're very hopeful that their day will come and that justice will take place. But, for now, I think much like many people in the United States and much like many protesters who will be here in D.C. on Wednesday, they've lost hope in President Obama.
Ramzi Qasim, I want to thank you for being with us, professor of law at City University of New York, counsel to a number of Guantánamo prisoners. As we